ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः. So it happens to be Monday, therefore we are doing Upadesha Sahasri, and we are doing Upadesha Sahasri, the present chapter, the consisting of the earth. Consisting of the earth, it is going to be, it is 16th section, Prithvi Parthiva Prakaranam. Parthiva Prakaranam means consisting of earth. This we have to see, and we have to see 13th verse. Consisting of earth. In this section, we have to see 13th verse. We are doing Upadesha Sahasri and 16th section and 13th verse. Please refer to it and please find out where it is, where you are. Yad dharmaha yaha padarthaha na tasaiva iyat sa karmatam. Nahi atmanam dahati agnihi tatha naiva prakashayet. This is the verse, 13th verse we have to see. There is a difference between dharma and swarupa. The dharma is whether he is fair or dark, that is dharma. It can change always. Swarupa is that it is non-eternal. It is non-eternity. It appears and disappears in every state. It appears in every state and it disappears also from that state. When the state disappears, the body also disappears. The body is made of 5 elements only. When the 5 elements disappear, the elementals also disappear. And therefore, that is the Swarupam. The Swarupam doesn't change. What changes is an adjective. What Swarupam doesn't change. And that our Swarupam is that consciousness. Our Swarupam doesn't change. We cannot change. We can't suddenly become the body and again suddenly become free from the body. It's not that. Body is neither an adjective of us nor the Swarupam of us. Swarupam of us. It is neither our Swarupam nor our adjective. We are not qualified with the body, even though we are in the body, but that we are not qualified with the body. And therefore, here we are going to see 13th verse. Yad dharma, yah padartha. Any object, any noun that has an adjective, yad dharma yah padartha, na tasaivi yat karmatam. The noun cannot become an object of that adjective. The noun cannot become an object of that adjective. And therefore, na tasaivi yat sa karmatam. Na tasaivi yat karmatam means that adjective cannot objectify the noun. That adjective cannot objectify the noun. If the noun has an adjective, the adjective cannot objectify the noun, nor the noun can objectify the adjective. Both of them are inert. Both of them are objectifiable. The noun is inseparable from the adjective, and therefore the noun cannot objectify the adjective, nor the adjective can objectify the noun. Only the inert things have nouns with adjectives. Conscious things, conscious being doesn't have, consciousness doesn't have any adjective. It has only its nature. This is the difference, please. All inert objects have adjectives. They are nouns with adjectives. Neither the noun can objectify the adjective, nor the adjective can objectify the noun. The fire can then it is said the fire cannot burn its existence. The fire cannot burn itself, nor can it illumine itself. It cannot objectify. It cannot objectify. Fire cannot objectify its own self. It cannot. It is hot, but then without being objectified, also it is hot. Similarly, consciousness also is consciousness without objectifying it also. But the consciousness being the self-evident self, it knows itself without objectifying. Knowing oneself without objectifying itself is only the swarupa of the consciousness. The swarupa of the consciousness is that it knows its existence without objectifying, and that is its swarupa. And that swarupa is what is called self-evidence. That self-evidence means knowing its existence, that I am there. I am there is everybody's experience, anubhava, and therefore there is no need for objectification. If you can be aware of, you see, you don't objectify yourself in the waking state. You don't objectify yourself in the dream state. You don't objectify yourself in the deep sleep state. But you know that you are there in all the three states. All the three states are connected to you. You are there in all the three states. That is, your existence is known to you. Your existence is known to you. You experience your existence without objectifying it, and therefore that is the swarupa. That is the swarupa of consciousness. That is the swarupa of your nature. That is your nature place. Self-evidence is your nature, and therefore it is just as the fire cannot burn its existence. In the same manner, this consciousness also cannot objectify its existence, but it knows its existence without objectifying it. And therefore, and the next verse is 14th verse. एतेनैव आत्मनः ग्रहो बुद्धैर्निराकृतः बुद्धैः अंशोप्येवं समत्वाद्धि निर्भेदत्वात् न युज्यते. अंशोप्येवं, the doctrine of Buddhists, the Buddhists, Nirakritaha, they always think, because the Atma cannot be objectified, and therefore they think it is non-existent. If it is non-existent, how can you say that the universe is? Because the universe is there only without presupposing the subject. You can't say the subject is nothing but thoughts only, according to the Buddhists. Only thoughts are there. The thought is called Vijnanam, and an object is called Bhakyartha. An object is called Bhakyartha. They say the Bhakyartha determines the thought, Vijnanam, and some people say, Vijnanavadis, they say that the thought determines the object. Thought looks like the object, and the object looks like the thought. And some people say, Bhakyarthavadis say, that the object looks like the thought. But they don't see that Atma, even though it cannot be objectified, it knows its existence. And the self-evidence they don't accept. And yete naiva, because the self cannot be objectified, and therefore they say nirakritaha. And what can be known is only the thought. Thought can be known by the thought. Thought cannot know the thought. Nirakritaha. Just as the thought cannot know the thought. Thought looks like the object. That is right. That is different. That Vijnanavad is saying thought is indeed non-eternal, and the object also is non-eternal according to them. According to the Bhakyarthavadis, the object is what is called Bhakyartha, and the thought is what is called Vijnanavada. Vijnanavadis say that the thought cannot look like the object, and the Bhakyarthavadis say the object looks like the thought. In this manner, they refute each other. Buddhaihi nirakritaha. Amshopyevam Samattvadi. And it is said by Shankaracharya, it is said, Pratasmarame Hridi Samspurda Atmatattvam Sachit Sukham Paramamsa Gatim Turiyam Yat Swapna Jagar Sushuptim Avaiti Nityam Tad Brahma Nishkalamaham Nacha Bhuta Sangaha, he says. That means I am that Brahma which is free from all the kalas. It is free from all the parts, amshas. Amsha भी नहीं है, अंश भी नहीं है. It is अंशोपि समत्वात्, अंशोपि एवं समत्वादि. अंश भी नहीं है. There are no divisions also. There are no divisions. If it is not divisible, then it cannot have. It is not an aggregate. If it is not an aggregate, then it has no amshas. Therefore, it is free from. It is free from all the kalas. Kalas means it is free from all the parts. It is free from all the parts. It is not made of many parts, and therefore it cannot be divided into parts. And therefore it is Samatvadi Nirbhedatva na yujyate. And therefore to say that it is Atma is indeed Bhedaha Nirbhedatva, it being Advaitam, you cannot say, the Buddhists cannot say, even if the Atma is there, it is divided. You can't say that Nirbhedatvat. Nirbhedatvat means it is being Advaitam. It cannot be considered as divisible. It cannot be considered as divisible. It cannot be considered as something made of many bits. And therefore it is not it's not made of many, it is not an aggregate, and therefore it is not divisible. In this manner, Buddhism has been refuted. Buddhists themselves, Bhahyattvadis refute Vijnanavadis, and Vijnanavadis refute Bhahyattvadis. This cannot be. It cannot be. Shunyatapi na yukta vai buddhair anyena drishyata. Shunyatapi, even zeroness, nothingness. You can't say there is nothingness. Ultimately, everything is nothing. You can't say that. Everything is fullness. Everything is Atma. Not everything is nothing. You can't say that. Shunyatapi na yukta. It's not reasonable. It's not tenable. Why? Buddhaihi anyena drishyata. And it is promoted by Buddhists. The Shunyata is Shunyavadis also, that it cannot be objectified, cannot make it non-existent. That it cannot be objectified, cannot make it non-existent. And therefore, it is only Sunyatapi. If you say it is nothingness, there is somebody to look at it. Nothingness cannot be proved unless it is somebody's knowledge. Unless it is somebody's knowledge. It cannot be proved. In order to prove it, it has to be somebody's knowledge. That somebody we are talking about Atma, and that somebody is Atma. And therefore, drishyata, that nothingness is also known. Yukta ataha, and therefore it is possible. Pashyat vada. Ghatavat tasyaha. And then he sees that even the Sunita, nothingness is seen like the pot. Is seen like the pot. Ghatavat tasyaha prak siddhescha vikalpataha. And prak siddhescha. Even Shunya presupposes the subject. Even the Shunya presupposes the subject, means the subject is there even before the Shunya. Even before Shunyatvam is only Vikalpa. is only a kalpana. But the Shunyatvam is known by the subject and consciousness. And therefore, consciousness is there even before the Vikalpa, before the era. And therefore, you can't say Atma is nothingness. Atma is nothingness, you can't say. Because Atma is, if it is nothingness, then who is there to see, unless it is somebody's jnanam, you can't prove it. You can't prove it, you can't disprove it also. Without the knowledge, without the experience, anubhava, you can't. Why do you say there is a universe? Because we know it. We know it, 5 elements. How do you know that there are 5 elements? I can count them. Space, air, fire, water, earth. In this manner, the elementals also so 5 senses are there. I can count them. It is my knowledge, my experience, and therefore it is proved, and therefore nobody doubts it. What is evident cannot be doubted. What is evident cannot be doubted. Are you existent? You don't have any doubt about your existence because it is known to you. It is experienced by you. I also know that you are functioning, and therefore you are very much there. Atma is there, Anatma is there, the body is there, and the body is functioning, and therefore Linga Shariram is there, and the Atma is there. If Atma were not there, the body, Anatma cannot function. Prana is not by prana and apana, by breathing in and breathing out, you are alive. Anyena tu jivanti, अन्यनेव तु जीवन्ति यस्मिन्नेतौ यस्यामेतौ व्यवस्थितौ यस्यामेतौ व्यवस्थितौ. Prana and apana exist only in Atma, and therefore prana and apana cannot make you be alive. It is only because of the Atma's presence you are alive. Life presupposes Atma's presence. Life doesn't presuppose prana and apana. Prana and apana. And therefore, Shunya you cannot consider, Buddhists consider Atma as Shunyam because it cannot be objectified. In the previous verse it was said, Ete naiva atmana atmanaha graha buddhaihi nirakritaha. They say Etena. Etena means because the Atma cannot be objectified, and therefore they consider Atma is non-existent. Atma is non-existent, therefore thought is existent. Thought is very much object. Anything, if it is there, if Atma is there, it should be objectifiable. And therefore they think that anything that exists should be objectifiable. And anything that exists, it should be objectifiable if it is anatma. If it is consciousness, how can you objectify? You can't objectify. The one who objectifies is consciousness, and therefore, it's not Atma is not Shunyam. Atma is fullness. Atma is Purnam. Atma, everything happens to be in Atma, and therefore it is all inclusive. And therefore it is because it is all inclusive, and therefore it is fullness. Avikalpam tadastyeva yat purvam syad vikalpakaha. An error presupposes the fact. Avikalpam, the fact is some. Avikalpam means the fact. Avikalpa, जो विकल्पित किया नहीं है. Rope is not vikalpita. Rope is not an error. Rope is a fact. So astyeva. And the fact is yat purvam, presupposing which syad vikalpaka is the error. Presupposing which fact is the error. The error presupposes the fact. The error without the fact, the error cannot exist. The vikalpa cannot exist without the avikalpa. Avikalpa means the fact. The fact I don't imagine it. It's not an error. The rope is not an error. Snake is an error. I see the snake in the rope. The rope is the fact. The snake is an error, and the error presupposes the fact. And therefore, The avikalpa is the fact is there even before I commit the error. Before I commit the error, the fact is there. विकल्पोत्पत्ति हेतुत्वात् the vikalpa utpatti hetutvat. The reason for the vikalpa is the avikalpa, the fact. The fact is there all pervading the era. It pervades the era, and therefore vikalpa, the fact pervades the error place. Fact pervades the era. Hetutvat, and it is the cause for it is the fact only is misunderstood as the error. The fact is only misunderstood as the error. Otherwise, if the fact is not misunderstood as the error, then there would be no error. If the fact only is misunderstood, where from does the snake come? It is a rope that is misunderstood as snake. It is a rope that is misunderstood as snake. Similarly, here also, it is the Atma that is misunderstood as the Prapancha. It is the Atma that is misunderstood as the Deha. And therefore, vikalpotpatti hetutvasu tasyaivachu karanam. And therefore, the cause for the reason for the reason for the error is the fact. Tasyaivachu karanam. And therefore, the cause for the error is the fact. The fact is the cause for the error. And the fact ununderstood and misunderstood is the error place. The fact misunderstood is the error, and therefore the error is not something different from the fact. They are not parallel. They are not two parallels. The error and the fact are not two parallels. The universe is not parallel to consciousness. The universe is consciousness. The object and the consciousness are not two parallels. They are not parallel existent. They are indivisible. The matter exists. Matter and consciousness, they are not two parallels, as many people think. Because consciousness is not objectifiable, they think that there is no consciousness. That is what the Buddhists think. Shunyavadis. They are called Shunyavadis. The Shunyavadis are called the Shunyavadis are Buddhists, and thought Vijnanavadis are also Buddhists, and Bhakyarthavadis are also the Buddhists. Bahyartha, the object looks like the thought, and the thought looks like the object. The thought is nothing but the object is nothing but the thought, and the thought is nothing but the object. Because the object is there, therefore you have the thoughts. In this manner, the Vijnanavadis think. And therefore, the Vijnanavadis and Bahyarthavadis, they refute each other. But Shunyavadis and the fullnessvadis, we refute the Shunyavadis. And therefore the entire Buddhism is gone. The entire Buddhism is refuted that way. Avikalpam tadastyeva. Avikalpa, the fact is there. Yatpuram, presupposing which, chad vikalpakaha. The error is there. Vikalpakaha means the error. The error is there only presupposing the fact. And without the fact, and the error, the fact alone is the reason. The fact alone misunderstood is the error. The erroneous understanding. The error means erroneous thing, erroneous understanding. It is, you have to understand this, please. Error means erroneous understanding, not the erroneous perception. It is not erroneous thing. It is not a thing. It is erroneous misunderstanding. Erroneous understanding. Erroneous perception. Snake is an erroneous perception. It is an erroneous perception. It's not an erroneous thing. There are no erroneous things, please. There are only erroneous understandings. And therefore, vikalpa utpatti hetutvata. And the erroneous understanding itself is there due to the fact. And therefore, the cause for the erroneous understanding is the fact is not understood. The fact is not understood as the fact. The fact is the rope is not understood as the rope, and therefore it looks like it is seen as snake, and that is called mithya jnanam. Ajnanam kalpana moolam. Ajnana, the non-understanding of the fact, ajnanam is the kalpana moolam. He is the reason for the kalpana. Sansarasya niyamakam. And in samsara, and samsara continues to be there. Niyamakam means its continuity is there because of ajnanam. As long as ajnanam is there, ajnana means non-understanding is there, so long samsara is there. So long samsara is there. Ajnanam kalpana moolam. All are wrong understanding. I am the body is a wrong understanding. Samsarasya niyamakam. Niyamakam should be taken as the continuity. Samsara continues, and everything that happens in samsara, it gives you dukkham, it gives you sukham, and you for sukham you go through so much of dukkham. And in this manner, samsara is niyamakam. Samsara is niyamakam. Hitva, and renounce all of them. Atmanam param brahma. Atma as param brahma. Vindyat. Vindyat means let one know. Atma to be param brahma. Muktam sada bhayam. It is ever free, and it is ever free from fear. Sada abhayam. Sada abhayam means it is ever free from the fear. Atma is ever free from the fear. And this you have to understand very well. Hitva, ajnanam, kalpana moolam. What makes the kalpana is the misunderstanding is due to non-understanding. The misunderstanding is due to non-understanding. Everything is that I am the body is an understanding, please. It's not a thing. It's not a fact. It's a misunderstanding. It is a misunderstanding. Erroneous understanding. There is no erroneous facts. There are no erroneous things. Things are facts. Physical facts. They are called things. The erroneous thing. There are no erroneous things. There is only erroneous understanding. Ajnanam kalpana moolam. Ajna, ignorance, non-understanding is the reason for kalpana. For kalpana does not mean imagination. Kalpana means you perceive that it is a snake. You perceive that it is a snake. That is called kalpana. You perceive that I am the body. You perceive perception. Wrong perception is what is called kalpana moolam. That's called kalpana. Wrong perception is called kalpana. Kalpana is not just imagination. It's nothing subjective, please. Samsarasya niyamakam. It is the reason for samsara's continuity. The pleasure and pain are there always in samsara. Therefore, for the sake of the pleasures, you go through so much of pain. Hitva atman, hitva, renounce, disproving ajnanam, knowing the fact. Hitva means having renounced. Ajnanam is not a thing. Ajnanam cannot be renounced. Ajnanam cannot be renounced, and therefore a fact being known is called renunciation of ajnanam. A fact being known. Hitva atmanam, hitva, atmanam param brahma vindyat. Hitva means having left the ignorance. And the way to renounce ignorance is knowing the fact. There is no other way of renouncing the ignorance. Knowing the fact is the only way by which you can renounce the ignorance. Knowing the fact. Hitva, Atmanam Param Brahma Vindyat. May you come to know. Vindyat means let one come to know that Atma is Param Brahma. Atma is Param Brahma means Atma is indeed consciousness, solely consciousness. It is solely consciousness. Iti, in this manner, let one understand. Muktam, that it is ever free. And it's a sada abhayam, and it is always free from the fear. It is always free from the fear. Like in Sushupti, there is no fear, there is no thought. And similarly in the Atma, there is no thought, therefore there is no fear. There is no fear, there is no bond, there is no sense of bondage. Sense is not a quality, is not a part of the truth. Sense is not a part of the truth. And thought is not a part of the truth. When thought is not a part of the truth, ignorance also is not a part of the truth. Non-understanding, misunderstanding, and doubt are not a part of the truth. Their correction also then elimination of the non-understanding, and correcting the misunderstanding, and correcting the doubt also. The correction also is not a part of the truth. The truth is something that is something. And the truth is solely consciousness, and therefore that soul consciousness is yourself. You are solely consciousness, free from the body, and therefore that your existence is not something that can be objectified, but you know you are there, and therefore that is what is called self-evidence. That is called self-evidence. Then, then what is there? Jagra Swapno Tayor Bijam. Only in the Jagrata Avastha, Jagrata Avastha and Swapna Avastha, there is ignorance, there is non-understanding. Thought is possible, the non-understanding is possible, and misunderstanding also is possible. The waking, in the waking is there is a waking body, and there is a dream, and there is a dream body, and it is the in the waking state and the dream state are the reason for the ignorance to be there. These are the two states. Jagra Swapno Tayor Bijam. Tayo in Bijam. Sushuptakim Tamomayam. Tayor Bijam. Jagra Swapna, they are born of Sushupti. Sushupti is the Bijam. Sushupti, they are coming from the, they are born of the Sushupti. Sushupti means Atma only. Sushupti is Atma is Swarupa Avastha. And there it is neither a state of ignorance, nor is it a state of, even though it is called Tamomaya, from which point of view, it is not felt as Tamomaya. It is from the waking point of view only you are calling it as Tamomaya. And therefore, from it is not experienced as darkness. It is experienced as non-dual. It is not experienced, it is experienced as peace. When you see the objects, then you say that these objects were not there. These objects were not there. And then you call it Tamomayam. It is darkness. And therefore, when you Sushuptakim Tamomayam. Anyonyasmin Asatvacha. And then these objects are not there. These states are not there in one another. When the Jagrat comes, Swapna goes. When the Swapna comes, Jagrat goes. They are not there. And when both of them are not there in Sushupti. And Sushupti is not there in Jagrat. And Sushupti is not there in Swapna. And both of them are not there in Sushupti. In this manner, there is Anyonya Bhava, Anyonya Sattvam. Anyonya Sattvam means, Anyonya Bhava means they are not in one another. In the waking state, there is no dream state. In the dream state, there is no waking state. And both of them are not there in the deep sleep state. And the deep sleep state is not there in either of them, in either of the waking or the dream states. And therefore, there is no, and therefore all the three states are false. Anyonyasmin asatvacha nasti etat trayam tyajet. Disprove all the three states. Not tyajet does not mean renouncing. They have to be disproved. They have to be understood as they are not non-existent. They are not to be renounced. They have to be understood as to be disproved. They have to be understood as disprovable. Disprovable and disproved. Disproving them is called renunciation. Renunciation is not renunciation. Disproving them is renunciation. And therefore, renunciation is not just leaving it is something. Leaving it is not disproving. Even dhana, when you give your wealth to somebody, that is called renunciation. That is giving something to somebody. But then you have to disprove the universe. When you have to disprove the universe, disproving the universe is different from renunciation of the universe. When you renounce the society, is different from, you can't renounce the society, because society has to give you food, society has to give you clothes, society has to give you shelter. And therefore, wherever you go, even if you sit in a cave, but there also the society is there, and therefore the people around will always give you something. And therefore, renunciation is not the answer. Disproving is the answer. Disproving is the answer. Renunciation is not the answer. Renunciation is not the answer. The act of renunciation is not the answer, but the non-act of disproving. Disproving everything, disproving the universe, including the actions, is the answer. Disproving the universe along with the actions, along with the actions, is the answer. Please, disproving the answer. And how do you disprove that the universe has to be understood as non-separate from the Atma? It is ananyam. It is ananyam, and that has to be understood. It is not something to be done. It is not. It is something to be understood. It is not something to be done. It is something to be understood, and therefore, that is what is to be done. And thus we have completed the 18th verse, and 19th verse, 20th verse. All these things we will see in the next class. Thank you very much. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And I will come to Ramana Kendra on 4th of September. Thank you very much.